I have to physically speak at, which is also in commemoration of the World Youth Skills Day, and that is on the other side of Accra. So I had to permit me to speak on phone. So
absolutely.
I want to thank you for granting me that opportunity as well.
Right. Today, the day is very obvious, and you're on your way to speak at a function as well in relation to it. What does today mean to you, and are we moving fast enough in being able to ready our young people with appropriate skills for the job market and to be the leaders of tomorrow that we've touted them to be since we were all young people and still are young people, and we're told always?
Yes, thank you very much, and good morning to you once again, and good morning to your viewers, and maybe for those who will be watching you online on 3FM, and of course to my fellow youth of Ghana. I want to say good morning to them, and thank you for the opportunity to join you today as we commemorate the National Youth Skills Day, which of course it is an important occasion to reflect on how we can better prepare Ghana's youth for the future of work and position them to contribute meaningfully to national development. When we look at the data, there is a group of young people that we call youth, that is MEET. That is to say, they are not in any form of employment, they are not in any form of education, and they are not in any form of training. And these are the most vulnerable group even within the unemployed youth of the country. So these are the sets of people that we encourage or try to push to go into various skills acquisition. And when we look at today's job market, it's changing rapidly, driven by technology, artificial intelligence, automation, and of course, the green economy. And for one to remain competitive as a Ghanaian youth, you must acquire future-ready skills that will help you within that environment, especially with digital literacy, critical thinking, problem solving, communication, entrepreneurship, and etc. But most importantly, the one that actually bothers most is the fact that the skills must lead to jobs and entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
Skills training should not end up with just certificates. It must translate into, of course, decent jobs. It must lead to self-employment, and it must also lead to business creation. And that is why government and the private sector must always work hand in hand to develop partnership that must work together to create pathways for training to employment, internships and apprenticeships, and access to start-up support. And that is why, leading into the 2024 elections, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama realized the high level of young people within the youth group, and for that matter, were able to introduce so many programs that would push many young people into various skills training, and not just skills training, but lead them into employment or lead them into self-employment, or they themselves being industry giants in where they learn. And if you remember, last year, Excellency launched the National Apprenticeship Program. And aside from the National Youth Authority, which is in the National Apprenticeship Program, we also have other agencies who are doing some skills training or skills acquisition across the government. And the National Apprenticeship Program was to transition people from unskilled labor to skilled labor and also to employment. So it's supposed to pick people who do not have any skills or training, whether technical or vocational. Give them the skills, train them in such a way that they themselves are employer. Because it's one thing looking for a job, and it's one thing actually having the skills that is needed within the job market. Because the job market requires some skills. If you don't have those skill sets, then, as I said, you fall within the need bracket, and you are even more vulnerable within the vulnerable group. So there's a national apprenticeship program by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And as I said earlier, it's not just about acquiring certificates, but moving from the skills training to being employable or being employed or actually setting yourself up. Now, within the national apprenticeship program, we just don't train you, but we look at how we can also set you up in terms of giving you start-up tools for you to be able to set yourself up. Now, depending on the kind of skills that you train, some may require a working space to work. Some actually don't require a working space. Some just need an online presence to be subscribed onto. And others actually need startup capital beyond just the startup tools. Others also need startup capital. Now, for those who require startup capital, we further onboard you onto another government program, which is the Ejumara program, which is to look at startup. So once you are trained under the National Apprenticeship Program, we look at the various graduates case by case. It is not a wholesale effect. We look at it case by case, depending on what you want to do. Because not everybody wants to be on their own and be an entrepreneur. Some want to work in industry. Sometimes, interesting to know, even when people are done with their training, they still want to work with their madams or their masters for their masters to pay them. And some of the masters actually even want to keep their students because they think they are hardworking and they are efficient and they are effective enough. So these are the various things government has been doing for young people to acquire certain skills. So we want to make sure that young people must also take responsibility sometimes for their own development and embracing some of this lifelong learning innovation. It is not enough that government provides all these opportunities, and sometimes when young people are given the opportunity, they either become dropouts along the way, some actually change their minds, and it actually blocks other people from enjoying some of these skills. Now, beyond the hard skills, that has to do with, example, carpentry, hairdressing, we also need to look at going beyond the hard skills to soft skills and actually sharpening the various skills that we learn. Because, example, every day you hear that we have carpenters in Ghana, we have people who do POP or plaster boards in Ghana. However, people prefer to go to neighboring Togo to go and bring in some of these artisans. Because, one, people are looking at their working habits. People are also looking at sometimes the output of the work that they are doing. You won't believe that even now, people send their measurements to Nigeria for some fashion designers to sew and send the clothes back to them. Because people have expressed concern about some finishing, how some people don't finish the clothes well. And all these skills are skills that we look at how we can sharpen. It is not enough that because you want to be a carpenter, it's just about driving the nail through the wood. How do you polish the furniture? How do you polish the joinery?
Right.
That if somebody is even importing a set of furniture from even Europe, and you are also manufacturing it in Ghana, it's very difficult for the person to even tell the difference in terms of the appearance and even the quality. That is the kind of quality we are pushing young people and training young people to get to. So it is still in progress, and I am more than optimistic that we will surely get there. And once we're able to get this right, we'll be able to reduce the importation of certain things. We'll be able to also export some of our skilled labor. And I'm sure this day is a day that many young people will embrace so far as the World Youth Skills Day is concerned.
Right, fantastic. Now, on the National Apprenticeship Program, for one, we know that when it was launched last year, the target was 10,000 apprentices in 2025, scaling up to 100,000 by this year. Where are we on that? Have the first 10,000 completed their training? Are they out? Are we seeking to get a bit more persons to get in this year as well? Where are we in relation to that? And in answering, there's also the elements that it's been majorly in Accra and Kumasi. How are we catering for other young persons as well outside of these major capitals?
Yes, thank you very much. it wasn't. Now let me answer the questions from the last bit of the question. It wasn't measured in Accra and Kumasi only. Now there was a geographical distribution based on the number of districts. So every district had equal number of master craft persons and also apprentices. But of course, when you come to Greater Accra has more districts and has more constituencies. When you go to Ashanti region has 47 constituencies. So when you do a summary, you realize that Ashanti region will have more, Greater Accra will have more than a region like Upper East. But we did an equal distribution according to constituencies. So every constituency was given an equal number. But when you put them together, you realize that Greater Accra has about 36 constituencies and Ashanti region has about 47 constituencies. So when you put the regions together, you realize that they have more. But they have more because they have more in terms of population, they have more in terms of their constituencies. There was an equal distribution according to the districts and the constituencies. Now, if you go beyond that, last year there was a promise of us doing 10,000. We're able to exceed that target by training 14,000 people. They 14,000 apprentices. Now, they started in September last year. Now, in September last year, we have different trainings. Some trainings are 3 months, some trainings are 6 months, some trainings are 9 months, and some trainings are 12 months, and even some are 18 months. For example, someone who is learning mechanical engineering or auto mechanics, it's about 18 months, because in learning auto mechanics, you have to learn a bit of something within the vehicle. Those learning fashion designing, the syllabus have been able to compile them for 12 months. So the first group of people who were to do 3 months are done. We are done with the 6 months group. So we're now waiting to graduate the 12 months and also the 18 months. So by September this year, we have been done with the first batch of 14,000 people. Then we onboard the next batch with the target to 100,000. We are so optimistic to see if we can be able to hit the 100,000. But quite apart from that, we also want to call on development partners, want to call on donors, we want to call on industry players. It may not be in terms of supporting in terms of cash or logistics, but some industries can even support in terms of also training some of these young people as part of their social corporate responsibility, or even training to recruit, and all those numbers will go a long way to help us. So we're calling for support, we're calling for collaboration to see how we can reduce the youth unemployment through proper skills, contemporary modern skills acquisition.
I know there's a huge talk as well these days about AI and digital skills and all of that. We're seeing the Coders program, which might not directly fall within your purview as well. Touch on that for me briefly, and then I'll come to you again. I think we'll have to wrap up in about 5 minutes as well on disabilities, persons living with disabilities, and how we're taking care of them as well, young persons along that catchment area.
Yes. The 1 million coders, which was also launched last year, was to see how many young people could go into serious computer literacy, coding, programming. And if you check the updates from the Ministry of Communication, there was some procurement of laptops to help many young people in terms of the coding. It is ongoing, and the interesting thing is about the interest of many young people to hook on to most of these government programs, and that shows how young people are willing and eager to take themselves out of the poverty and the unemployed bracket. So these are programs that His Excellency is very, 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 very passionate about, and he continues to give all these programs the needed support and the needed financial backing for it to exceed. Now, when it comes to issues of people living with disabilities, the National Youth Authority is one of the few agencies that, even at the helm of affairs, we have a person who is visually impaired. My deputy CEO in charge of finance is visually impaired. So even at the helm of affairs, we have inclusion so far as people living with disability is concerned, thanks to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Now, for the program itself, we had a 5% inclusion for people living with disabilities. Unfortunately, what we were able to get was 1.5% of the total number of people who were trained under the National Apprenticeship Program were people living with disabilities. We want to this year aggressively go out there and go after them and give at least some packages to enable them also get onto the program. Now, the problem with it has to do with sometimes trying to match a person living with disability with another master craft person. Because, you know, in terms of people living with disabilities, people are differently disabled. So you, for example, someone who is visually impaired, you cannot give maybe somebody who has a hearing or speaking problem to somebody who is visually impaired to train. And sometimes, due to the geographical location, if you are not careful, you are going to further disable the person. So, assuming somebody who is visually impaired is in Accra, and we have a master who is visually impaired in Boga who can train the person. If you want to do that matching, it further disables the person living with disability. So this year we're looking at putting together a comprehensive program to further include them, because the target is to make sure we're able to get to a 5%. But last year we did 1.5%, and this year we hope that we're able to go beyond the 1.5%. So once again, we have a disability desk which is headed by the Deputy CEO in charge of Finance and Administration, for those who may know, Mr. Jacob Atule Adongo, and he has been working assiduously to see how he could have so many of the people living with disabilities also get on board and benefit from it. So our doors are open to groups also who can get people to hook on to the program. But we still want to hit the 5% target for the people living with disabilities.
Right. Ms. Ayariga, we'll leave it here. I'm sure the conversations, we need to have a bit more. And so the invitation is so very much open. For you to join us so that we can talk the youth proper and what is being done for them as well, so we can track a number of these things, and you have a home here. Absolutely. We'll look forward to when things are easier, we can sit and have you in studio with us and have the conversation properly as well.
I'm a privilege.
Right.
Thank you.
That's Osman Ayariga. He's the CEO of the National Youth Authority, joining us as we commemorate World Youth Skills Day today. It's a very important day on the UN calendar.